All right, folks, big changes coming to AliExpress and TEMU. If you're a cyclist who's bought things on AliExpress or bought cheap items from TEMU, and you want to pay attention to this video because things have changed and will continue to change significantly. This is part of the disruption that I'm talking about in cycling and why I think prices are going higher in 2025. And so let's get to it. So I started my cycling shop March 23rd, 2024. And in that process, I was doing price discovery. And one of the places I looked at was AliExpress and TEMU. And I did buy these Rock Brother bags from AliExpress. And I bought some other things too. Just pedals, water bottle cage holders, some TPU tubes, things like that. Because they were cheaper than I could get from the bicycle wholesalers themselves. And I even wondered at that time, how are the wholesalers going to survive in this environment where a consumer can just go directly to China and get their products for 25% of the cost? Now, all of this is accelerated really rapidly in the last 2 years. We have YouTube channels specifically dedicated to things that they buy in AliExpress. And I can guarantee you, and I haven't done the video yet, the marketing video, but those people are getting paid significant amount of money from those manufacturers to test out the equipment and the products that they buy in AliExpress to build confidence in you as a consumer to change habits of where you buy your products from. That's basically what marketing is eyeballs on products and changing habits. The party is over. So in September, the federal government changed the rules to the de minimis, that's what it is, de minimis. The de minimis rule has changed. So basically what AliExpress and TEMU and Shein and all these other companies have done is they've taken a 120-year-old law, international shipping law, and used it to their advantage. Now, nothing against them really. I mean, Amazon's done some shady stuff too, closed a lot of small businesses, put people out of business. So really AliExpress and TEMU, they're just really copying the practices that Amazon's probably done for the last 20 years and being super hyper competitive to the point where they're losing money until they put people out of business and then they raise prices. That's basically the strategy AliExpress and TEMU has been using. But let's talk about the de minimis rule. So the de minimis rule states, if I was to ship a package to my friend in Colombia, South America, or they were to ship a package to me, actually into the United States, as long as that package is to me as an individual and it's under $800, that's the threshold, then there's no tariffs, there's no paperwork, and there's no import taxes that need to be paid. So AliExpress and TEMU has been using that same international law, which is meant to be from individual to individual, and using it for businesses. And so they're importing things into the United States without paying the import duties or taxes, which is pretty significant advantage. We look at cycling products now, and cycling products have a 25% tariff on them for any cycling components, and lithium-ion batteries now have a 100% tariff. That means if lithium-ion battery you import is $200, it's actually now you got to pay a $200 tariff. So the cost of the item is now $400. So the Fed is cracking down on these imports. Now, when I started my business, I had a grand opening where I had some of the politicians come in and we sat down right over here in the corner, and I purposely put this stuff from AliExpress in my shop. And then I asked my state representative, what were the governments going to do to protect small business? And back in March, they said that the rules were coming to change how things were being imported and to protect businesses and small jobs in the United States, and that change is now here. So in the end, you still need enforcement. So enforcement still has to come into play, and that's going to take a long time, but in 2025, it'll be figured out. So what are the new rules that we're looking at that's really going to disrupt and kind of throw this whole thing off? Well, first off, AliExpress is backed by Alibaba, which is a huge corporation, and they're dumping tons of money into their products. They're losing money on every transaction. So that stuff you buy for your bicycle is actually a loss leader for the company itself in China. TEMU is the same way. TEMU's supported by PDD Incorporated. They're losing anywhere from $550 million and $950 million a year by propping up these really, really cheap prices. Now, Amazon's done the same thing. So they're just copying what Amazon's done in the past. The other problem is there's a Chinese recession going on right now, a pretty big one. PDD just lost 25% of its stock value as they've just finally announced that they are in a recession and profits are down significantly. That company's lost $25 billion in market cap or market value with this announcement. Now, let's not be shy or coy or anything or beat around the bush with anything I'm talking about here. The de minimis rule is a workaround being used as a competitive advantage. Something that was used for international shipping for individual to individual is being exploited for the benefit of businesses. So that gives them an edge. But the problem is the Chinese market is down. I guarantee you those people who are talking about AliExpress products, I bet they haven't got a bit of money in the past couple of months. So sponsorship is probably down. And not only that, TEMU sellers are revolting. They've been pretty much staging sit-ins and things like that because the manufacturers are actually not getting paid or they're losing money because TEMU is actually setting prices lower than what they can actually profitably make them for. So this is all changing rapidly. Lastly, the party's over. So on September 13th, the de minimis rule changed. The federal government made some changes. When it gets implemented, nobody knows, but it will be implemented. So let me go through 3 or 4 of the changes that happened, and this is why I think people are going to stop buying their cycling stuff from AliExpress and TEMU and why prices are going to be going back up. So the first change was any product subject to tariffs under the U.S. trade law is no longer getting de minimis. So that means custom duties that you have to pay and tariffs you have to pay will have to be implemented no matter how small the amount is. Now, why is that important to me? Well, because I am a bike shop that also imports. I am bonded and I'm importing and I am paying tariffs and duties for these bike frames that are sitting on the wall. And I'm not using AliExpress or TEMU. So like AliExpress and TEMU could sell me this bike frame, ship it to my store as an individual transaction, and I could keep doing this over and over and over again and not pay the tariffs and not pay the custom duties coming in. That's a huge advantage to bypass all of that stuff that I can't bypass I could have bought stuff from China directly, bicycle frames, painted them here in the United States and sold them, but I knew this change was going to happen. As a hobby economist and hobby geopolitical analyst, I knew this was coming. Number 2, the worst thing, and I think the thing that's going to impact people the most, is the information collection that's going to be needed when you buy your stuff. Like let's say you buy your shifters or levers from AliExpress or TEMU or whatever. The US government needs the information to be collected. They're going to need, 1, the 10-digit tariff code that your product applies to. So like bicycle parts have a tariff code attached to it. That way the US Customs agents know how much tariff they need to apply to that thing coming in on AliExpress. And to get the de minimis exemption, you're going to need to show the tariff code that gives the exemption, and that's going to be validated. The other part of that rule, number 2, is the buyer needs to be revealed. And of course, this is going to need enforcement at some point. But if Go Graba is buying a product from China, I will have to provide the FEIN or the EIN, the employer identification number, to the company in AliExpress or TEMU so they can put it on the documentation when it comes into the United States. And if you don't own a company, you are in the future going to have to provide your social security number as an individual to these companies to bring in these products. How many of you are going to give a Chinese company your social security number? Probably not many of you. So the importer needs to file the security filing for customs before this product comes in. Even if it's a $20 pair of shifters, it's going to have to file something it didn't have to file before. And they're going to need the custom entry forms on the document. All of this is a tremendous amount of work to put all these custom documents onto the package that comes in. I can tell you when I bought my stuff from AliExpress that's in my store, it came like as if it was shipped from California. Had no customs documents, no import documents. They were circumnavigating rules that I can't even circumnavigate as a business here in Pennsylvania. So for instance, if somebody bought something from the Go Grab a store in Canada, I have to put customs documentation onto that package. So somehow we are allowing AliExpress and TEMU just to ship standard products into the US without even a customs entry form on the package. Number three, the third thing is that these companies are going to have to adhere to the safety regulations of the United States. So they need to file their certifications, and these are things that these companies have not been doing. So they have to show product safety tests. And for instance, like UL batteries, all these bicycles you see online, all these e-bikes need UL or should have UL certification, and they don't have it. I fix and repair these bikes. There's no UL cert on them. They are going to enforce and require UL certification for any lithium-ion battery whatsoever. Not only that, they're going to put the 100% tariff on those lithium-ion batteries coming into the United States. Death, nail in the coffin. It's dead. It's done. So all of this stuff is good things. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get cheaper stuff off AliExpress, but I mean, it's good for business in the United States. Like if we keep going down this road, we're all going to lose our jobs to cheap import, cheap labor. At least before, it was somewhat regulated by safety product reviews, custom imports, tariffs. The US government had some control over this stuff and could levy a bit of, like, I don't know, protection against other countries just blatantly importing cheap goods into the United States. Some of you may not be happy about this, and I understand that, but it is difficult. You know, the companies like SRAM, let's say for instance SRAM, you know, SRAM has been innovating and innovating and innovating over the last 10 years. They can't do that if they have companies stealing their technology in China and then selling it for a third of the cost of the United States. It's just, and it just hurts us all in the long run, getting these cheap products in. And then you just don't know the reliability of these products. That's the update. This is how cycling is changing. For the better, for the worse, I don't know, but I wanted to provide everybody an update because it's not really being talked about in the cycling world. So until we talk again, hopefully I have more upbeat news. I don't know. I don't know if this is good or bad news, but for me as a bike shop, it's good news. Keeping those cheap products off the market, cheap bicycle frames and things like that. So until we talk again, bye.